Hi, and welcome to Terribly Fun Films Reviews. I'm your host, Bobby, and today we're looking at A Christmas Carol. I know, it's been told so many times, so many ways. Why review this version versus that version or another version or anything like that? Well, two reasons. This movie's goofy and silly and doesn't totally work, so it's right up the alley of the show, and it does something no other version I have ever seen has been able to do, and I will get to that in time. The Christmas Carol version we are looking at is the 1997 direct-to-video animated musical with a crazy awesome cast. Tim Curry's Ebenezer Scrooge. Whoopi Goldberg is the Spirit of Christmas Present. Ed Asner is frickin' Marley. Michael York is Bob Cratchit. This cast is insane. I don't know how they got roped into this, but let's, I'm not going to do a plot recap. Everybody knows the story. If you don't know the story of A Christmas Carol, you're 5, and you probably shouldn't be watching my videos anyway. So, let's see how this one pans out. Directed by Stan Phillips, who is a storied and impressive filmography for animated TV shows, this is his only feature-length credit. It's not easy to figure. It's not hard to figure out why that is. I get it was kind of low budget, but the movie feels chopped up in weird ways, and there's little in the way of actual camera movements. A few, but very little. It's a lot of point, shoot, edit, jump to your next scene type deal, which in an animated movie makes it feel very lifeless and still. But again, yeah, this amazing voice cast, and they do bring a lot of energy and stuff that isn't there in just the directing. A lot of the animation as well is looped or kind of stiff at times. Only a few moments where I noticed looping, but the stiffness is kind of a constant problem. However, the main characters, when they're in the foreground, when they're the ones we're focusing on, they move well enough. Especially the ghosts. The ghosts do move with an ethereal, unnatural presence, and that's big time in their favor there. The screenplay was written by Jim Magon, and it's perfectly okay minus the songs. It hits all the beats you expect any movie titled A Christmas Carol to hit, but it doesn't do too much to really make it its own. Like the musical Scrooge with Albert Finney. Scrooge is an utter bastard in that so much. We've never seen him be such a giant dickwad. Then the one with Alistair Sims, largely hailed as the best possible version of this film. It gets kind of everything right. It gets how poor Bob Cratchit is, and it gets off. This has nothing to do it with one exception. Tiny Tim. This is the only version of this story in movie form I have seen that makes a real strong connection between the interests of Tiny Tim and the interests of a young Ebenezer, and it helps make the turnabout of Scrooge and his love for Tiny Tim and wanting Tiny Tim to get well by the end of the story so much stronger. And it's really the only time the movie shines like that. Plot is as normal. Scrooge is a grumpy old man. He hates Christmas. He's visited by 3 ghosts. We see why. When he's visited by the ghost of Christmas past, he is alone in the school. His sister's allowed to go home, but his dad hates him, so he stays. He reads a lot. Treasure Island and adventure stories like that. When we see the Cratchit family during the Spirit of Christmas Present segment, Tiny Tim is also reading Treasure Island, and Ebenezer gets really excited by this, and he's like talking to Tiny Tim, even though Tiny Tim can't hear him, and he's like, "Oh, this part, what part have you made it to?" And he's going really excited, like he was a child once. He had a love of something, he had an ambition, and that connection really does make Scrooge's turnaround as a whole much more effective, and specifically to want to help Tiny Tim get well, really much more powerful than in any other version of the story I've seen. And that's the highlight of the movie, really, is watching that play out throughout the course of the film. But if you've seen versions of this story ever, you will know where it's going. There are no surprises. There are no new twists. Maybe surprises is the wrong term. But even Disney's misguided Jim Carrey starring performance motion capture version of that movie did something new. All the ghosts were played by Jim Carrey. It's sort of like he's haunting himself. And that was awesome. That movie doesn't totally work though, but it did something different. Scrooge is my personal favorite version of this story of the film, and I love all the songs and everything, and I like what they ignore from the story. I like what they bring in to focus on more of, and then seeing how much effort they went in to the set designs and everything to make it look authentic and stuff is really great. But again, here, if you know the story, there's nothing to it. There's nothing to grasp on aside from the Tiny Tim thing. And because the screenwriter has proven that he could take something familiar and re-energize it with this subplot, I wish they were able to do that more so throughout the film. But they do fail. Like Scrooge's nephew Fred, I think has 3 scenes in the film, and this is by far the most boring version of this character I have ever witnessed. He's a total snorer. And the movie, I wouldn't say comes to a halt, but definitely loses some momentum whenever those few scenes pop up. It doesn't totally work. The character designs are fairly nice, though. Again, the animation's a little stiff, but the character designs themselves, solid. Especially the ghosts. I think all 3 ghosts look really cool. With Whoopi Goldberg's ghost of Christmas Present looking the best. Kind of looks like Whoopi, bigger, crazy hair type deal. But they move her in such a joyous, fun way that it's pretty fun to watch. And there is a little pet dog. I want to say it's a pit bull, but I don't quite remember, so don't hold me to that. The dog's cute, but it does nothing. It's only there to cut to for reaction shots, because this is a kids movie, and it panders to kids. Cute, though. It kind of works in a few moments, and it doesn't work in some others, so iffy there. Tim Curry as Scrooge, well, it's Tim Curry. Come on. Tim Curry is great. Tim Curry's an amazing voice actor. Of course he's good here. Again, if the writing were a little bit better, there'd be more to say about that. But Tim Curry brings his all. He makes him a curmudgeon, and that's, of course, fun to watch. Whoopi Goldberg as the spirit of Christmas Present is also very good. She's very big and boisterous, and uses her loud voice to inject a lot of joy and fun into that character. Michael York's voice, when improperly used, can sound very dull and boring and droll, in fact. However, here, because Bob Cratchit is living in such dire straits, and because his employment is so piss poor, I think it works. I think it's the low tones of his voice really suit that, and as the film progresses and things get better for him, there's more excitement added in there, so that works really well. Ed Asner as Marley is probably my favorite part of the movie. He gets some of the better written lines, in my opinion, so that helps. But he also is clearly having fun doing a creepy ghost thing and just getting to be crazy. It really is cool to watch. And Here, I guess, would be more appropriate. Him do that. Whoopi Benson does a character named Belle, and that is the person Ebenezer Scrooge falls in love with when he's a young adult. And she does really, really well, but as good of a singer as Jodie Benson is, the song they give her is terribly written. Bad lyrics, awkward melody, doesn't work. Which brings us to the biggest problem of the movie. It's not that, this has been told so many times before, it's the songs. All the songs are bad. Every single song in this movie sucks. Not just it's okay, every single song in this movie is downright terrible, except for one, and it's downright depressing. Young Scrooge, when he's at the school alone by himself because he can't go home for Christmas, sings a song about how sad he is. And so he reads all these books to keep him company, and that makes him happy because he can pretend he's a pirate, he can pretend he's this, he can pretend he's that. And that song does work. It's poorly directed. There's not a lot going on in this fantasy sequence. They do some stuff with shadows, but it's bland, to say the least. But it's such a messed up song. I get why it's here, to give you empathy for the character. And sadly, that's the only song that works. Every other song is so god-awful that I swear to you, if this weren't a musical, this movie would be 100 times better. 100 times better if you cut out every single song. Because that's how bad most of these songs are. It's really annoying. And that sucks. Because a lot of people worked really hard on this, obviously. Like, if you go to IMDb and you look at the animation department list, it's super long. Animated movies are tough to make. Even independent, low-budget ones require a lot of people to be animated. So it really sucks, and it really hurts that they do some things really well. Again, Tiny Tim, subplot, all that jazz. But they ruin it all by making it a musical. Does that make the movie unwatchable, though? I would say no, actually. Again, the voice acting from everyone, really good to great, even. It does do a really good job with the Tiny Tim stuff. And because of those things, and because it is cute, it's a nice way to introduce kids to the story. It's not perfect, but it's far less scary than Scrooge. Far less grumpy and intimidating than the Alistair Sims version of that story. So I feel kids can get into it a little bit more than that. There is some fun to be had for adults. This is very much a kids movie, and I think that they will enjoy it. I want to like this movie more than I do, and I think that's the biggest problem. Like, on paper, if you told me these people made an animated Christmas Carol movie and it's musical, I'd be like, oh, great, should love it. And I feel kind of bad that I don't. But that's the movie we got. We got a good movie for kids, flawed though it may be. And we got a movie that adults won't mind having on in the background. If you're a big fan of any one of the main actors, watch it for them. They all do a good job. If you just really love this story, watch it. It does do one thing really well. And if you just like animated movies, don't. The animation's just okay. And there's nothing to it to necessitate that. As always, thank you for watching. I've been your host, Bobby, and I'll see you next time.